Elias Kane was a ghost in the machine, a coder who lived in the shadows of Silicon Valley's glittering towers. At 29, he was no prodigy poster child, no hoodie-wearing tech bro with a TED Talk. He was a grinder, the kind of developer who spent sleepless nights debugging lines of code while others took selfies at startup launch parties. His apartment in Oakland was a shrine to caffeine and chaos. Empty Red Bull cans stacked like trophies, dual monitors glowing with lines of Python, and a whiteboard scrawled with algorithms that could make or break fortunes. Elias had built Spectre, a revolutionary app that promised to change how people connected online. It wasn't just another social platform. It was a neural network-driven ecosystem that learned its users' desires, curating experiences so personalized it felt like magic. Imagine Spotify, but for your entire digital life. Posts, videos, even virtual hangouts tailored to your soul. Venture capitalists called it the future of human connection. Elias called it his life's work. He'd poured 5 years into Spectre, starting in a community college computer lab, scraping by on freelance gigs. By 2025, he partnered with Vantage Point, a VC firm with a reputation for turning startups into unicorns. They gave him $10 million in seed funding, a sleek office in San Francisco, and a co-founder, Cassandra Cas Vega, a charismatic marketing genius who could sell sand in a desert. Together, they were unstoppable. Elias coded the future. Cass sold it to the world. Their pitch deck went viral on X, racking up millions of views. Tech influencers hyped Spectre as the app to end all apps. Pre-registrations hit 500,000 in a month. Elias and Cass were on the cusp of something monumental, a legacy that would outlive them both. But legacies are fragile things, and trust is a bug that's hard to patch. It started with a whisper, a glitch in the system of their partnership. Elias noticed Cass spending late nights at the office, not with the team, but with Vantage Point's lead investor, Derek Holt. Derek was a shark in a tailored suit, a man who collected startups like trophies and discarded founders like used coffee cups. Elias didn't think much of it at first. Cass was the face of Spectre, the one who charmed investors. But then he saw the emails. Late one night, bleary-eyed from debugging Spectre's recommendation algorithm, Elias stumbled across a misdirected email thread in the company's shared drive. It was between Cass and Derek, marked confidential. The subject line, restructuring leadership. His heart sank as he read the words that would unravel his world. Elias is brilliant, but not CEO material. He's too in the weeds, too obsessive. We need a visionary to take Spectre public. I can lead the transition, but we need to move him out quietly. Stock options and a severance package should keep him happy. Let's finalize at the board meeting next week. Elias felt the air leave his lungs. Cass, his partner, his friend, was plotting to oust him. Worse, she'd been feeding Derek proprietary details about Spectre's codebase details only Elias knew. The neural network's architecture, the secret sauce that made Spectre unique, was laid bare in those emails. They were planning to hand it to a new team, one that didn't include him. He confronted Cass the next morning in their glass-walled office, the San Francisco skyline mocking him with its promise of success. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, shoving his laptop screen toward her, the email thread glaring like a wound. Cass didn't flinch. Her eyes, usually warm and disarming, were cold. "Elias, you're a coder, not a leader. This is bigger than you now. You built the tech, but I built the dream. Let's not make this messy." "Messy?" he spat. "You're stealing my life's work." She leaned forward, voice low. "It's not yours anymore. It's ours. And if you fight this, you'll lose everything. Walk away, Elias. Take the money." He didn't walk away. He stormed out, vowing to fight. But the board meeting was a slaughter. Derek and Cass had already turned the other investors against him, painting him as unstable, a liability. By the end of the week, Elias was outstripped of his title, his equity slashed to a fraction, and his access to Spectre's servers revoked. The app he'd built from nothing was no longer his. Cass was named CEO, and Derek announced a $100 million Series A round, with Spectre valued at $1 billion. Elias was left with a $50,000 severance check and a non-disclosure agreement that felt like a gag order. He was erased from the narrative, a footnote in his own story. The tech blogs didn't even mention his name in their glowing profiles of Cass, the visionary behind Spectre. On X, users celebrated her as a trailblazer, while Elias became a ghost. For weeks, Elias drowned in rage and cheap whiskey, his apartment a prison of regret. He'd trusted Cass, believed in their shared dream, only to be discarded like obsolete code. But rage is a powerful fuel, and Elias was no stranger to long nights and impossible odds. He wasn't done. Not yet. He started digging. Using burner accounts. He scoured X for whispers about Vantage Point and Cass. He found patterns. Other founders who'd been pushed out, startups gutted after Derek's investments, and D's silencing the victims. Vantage Point wasn't just a VC firm. It was a machine that chewed up dreamers and spat out profits. Cass wasn't the mastermind. She was Derek's puppet, a willing accomplice in a game rigged against creators like Elias. Then he found the key. Deep in a forgotten GitHub repository, he discovered a backup of Spectre's early codebase 1 he'd uploaded before Vantage Point locked him out. It wasn't the full app, but it contained the core neural network, the algorithm that made Spectre magical. More importantly, it had a backdoor security flaw Elias had built in during the early days, a failsafe he'd never told anyone about. It was a skeleton key to Spectre servers, still active in the production environment. Elias stared at his screen, heart pounding. He could access Spectre. He could expose Cass and Derek, leak their emails, sabotage the app. But that wasn't enough. Revenge wasn't just about destruction. It was about reclaiming what was his. He needed a plan, one that would hit them where it hurt. Their reputation, their money, their power. He began to code. Not just an app, but a weapon. A shadow version of Spectre, one that could infiltrate their systems, mimic their algorithms, and turn their own tech against them. He called it Phantom, a digital ghost that would haunt Cass and Derek until they begged for mercy. It would take months, maybe years, but Elias had nothing left to lose. As the sun rose over Oakland, casting light on his cluttered desk, Elias typed the first lines of Phantom's codebase. The screen glowed with possibility, each keystroke a promise. They'd taken his dream, but they'd forgotten one thing. Elias Kane was a coder, and coders don't just build, they destroy. Elias Kane's apartment had become a war room. The whiteboard, once a canvas for Spectre's dreams, was now a battle map, covered in flowcharts, server IPs, encrypted notes about Phantom's architecture. His monitors flickered with code, terminal windows spitting out logs as he tested. His creation. Phantom wasn't just a program, it was a predator, designed to infiltrate Spectre's servers, mimic its neural network, and expose its vulnerabilities. Elias wasn't aiming to crash the app. He wanted to hijack it, to make Cass and Derek feel the same powerlessness he'd endured. The backdoor he'd found in Spectre's early codebase was his entry point. It was a simple exploit, a forgotten API endpoint he'd built during a late night. Coding sprint, never removed, because nobody else knew it existed. Through it, he could access Spectre's production environment user data, recommendation algorithms, even the admin dashboard Cass and Derek used to monitor the app's meteoric rise. But access wasn't enough. Elias needed Phantom to be undetectable. a ghost that could manipulate Spectre from the inside without triggering alarms. He worked in bursts, fueled by rage and black coffee. Phantom's core was a mirrored version of Spectre's neural network, but with a twist. It could inject subtle errors into the app's recommendations. A user looking for workout tips might get conspiracy theories instead. A playlist curated for relaxation could turn into a cacophony of death metal. Small disruptions at first, enough to rattle users, but not crash the system. Elias wanted Cass and Derek to sweat, to watch their billion-dollar baby wobble before it fell. But coding Phantom was only half the battle. Elias needed all eyes, alone. He was just a disgruntled ex-founder, a nobody in the eyes of the tech world. He turned to X, where the underbelly of Silicon Valley thrived hackers, whistleblowers, and jilted coders like him. Using a pseudonym, Ghostmite, he posted cryptic messages in tech forums, hinting at a takedown of a hypocritical unicorn. Responses trickled in. A former Vantage Point intern who'd seen Derek shred documents, a sysadmin who'd been fired after questioning Cass's expense reports, a cryptographer who claimed to have dirt on Spectre's data privacy violations. Elias vetted them carefully, building a digital resistance. They called themselves the Shadows, a nod to their shared invisibility in a world that worshipped spotlight-stealing CEOs. One ally stood out, Maya Chun, a brilliant security researcher who'd been blacklisted after exposing a flaw in a Vantage Point-backed fintech app. Maya had a vendetta of her own, and her expertise in penetration testing was exactly what Elias needed to weaponize Phantom. Over encrypted XDMs, they plotted. Maya suggested embedding a steganographic layer in Phantom's code, hiding its commands in innocent-looking user data packets. "It's like smuggling a bomb in a birthday cake," she said during a late-night voice call, her voice crackling with excitement. "They'll never see it coming." By March 2026, Spectre was a global phenomenon. Its user base had swelled to 50 million, and Cass was on the cover of Forbes, hailed as the Queen of Connection. Derek, meanwhile, was negotiating a $500 million Series B round, with plans to take Spectre public by 2027. The app's algorithm was its crown jewel, delivering hyper-personalized content that kept users hooked for hours. But beneath the polish, Elias's back door waited, a ticking bomb. Elias and Maya launched Phantom's first test in April, using a VPN and a chain of proxy servers. Elias activated the back door, slipping Phantom into Spectre's ecosystem. The initial payload was subtle, a tweak to the recommendation engine that swapped out curated ads for random, low-quality ones. Luxury brand promotions became infomercials for knockoff sunglasses. Fitness influencers were replaced by obscure meme pages. X lit up with confused users posting screenshots, tagging Spectre with hashtags like hashtag what happened in hashtag SpectreGlitch.cas and Derek scrambled. A press release blamed minor server issues, but the Shadows saw through it. Maya monitored Spectre's internal logs, which Elias accessed through the back door. The dev team was in chaos, unable to trace the source of the glitch. "They're blaming a third-party ad network," Maya reported. "Idiots. They don't even suspect an inside job." Emboldened, Elias pushed Phantom further. He coded a module that leaked snippets of Cass's internal emails to X, anonymized through Phantom's steganographic layer. The emails were damning. Cass bragging about cutting dead weight, Elias, Derek promising her a bonus for streamlining leadership. The leaks went viral, trending under hashtag Spectre Scandal. Tech blogs picked up the story, and Spectre's stock valuation wobbled as investors whispered about mismanagement. Cass's public response was a masterclass in deflection. In a polished YouTube video, she teared up, claiming the leaks were fabricated by jealous competitors. Her followers ate it up, flooding X with support. But Elias saw the cracks. Negative user reviews spiked, and Spectre's daily active users dipped for the first time in months. He was drawing blood. Derek wasn't as naive as Cass. He hired a cybersecurity firm, Blackthorn Solutions, to hunt for the source of the leaks. Blackthorn was ruthless, known for doxing whistleblowers and burying scandals. Elias's VPNs and proxies held up, but Blackthorn's scans were getting closer, probing Spectre's servers for anomalies. One night, Maya warned him. They found the back door. They don't know what it does yet, but they're sniffing around. We need to move faster. Elias's heart raced. He'd underestimated Derek's paranoia. Phantom needed an upgrade, something bold to tip the scales before Blackthorn locked him out. He and Maya worked around the clock, integrating a new feature. Phantom could now hijack Spectre's live video streams, a feature Cass had hyped as the future of real-time connection. Elias's plan was audacious. During Spectre's upcoming global live stream glitzy event to announce the Series B round, he'd use Phantom to broadcast the truth about Cass and Derek, live to millions. But the shadows were fracturing. One member, the ex-intern, got cold feet and dropped out, spooked by Blackthorn's reputation. Another was doxxed, their identities splashed across a shady X account linked to Vantage Point. Elias felt the walls closing in. He was sleeping 4 hours a night, his eyes bloodshot, his fingers trembling over the keyboard. Maya urged him to slow down, but he couldn't. "This isn't just about me anymore," he told her. "It's about every coder they've screwed over. We finish this." The live stream was a week away. Elias and Maya finalized Phantom's hijack module, testing it on a dummy server. It worked flawlessly, overlaying their custom video feed onto Spectre's stream. Elias recorded a message, his face hidden, voice distorted. Cassandra Vega and Derek Holt stole Spectre from its creator. They betrayed trust, silenced truth, and profited from lies. This is their reckoning. The video included the leaked emails, screenshots of Derek's shady deals, and a manifesto from the shadows, calling for accountability in TechDot as the livestream approached. Elias felt a mix of dread and exhilaration. He was about to declare war on $1 billion empire, armed only with code and conviction. But Blackthorn was closing in, and one wrong move could expose him. The question wasn't just whether Phantom would work, it was whether Elias could survive the fallout. The night of Spectre's global livestream was electric with anticipation. San Francisco's Embarcadero Center was transformed into a tech spectacle, its glass facade glowing with Spectre's logo. Inside, 2,000 influencers, investors, and tech elites mingled under LED chandeliers, sipping artisanal cocktails while Cass Vega prepared to take the stage. The event was being broadcast to 50 million Spectre users worldwide, a coronation for Cass as the Queen of Connection, and a victory lap for Derek Holt's $500 million Series B round. It was also Elias Kane's moment to strike Dot in his Oakland apartment. Elias sat hunched over his monitors, Phantom's interface open, its hijack module primed. Maya Chun was on a secure voice call, her own setup mirroring his from a safe house in Seattle. The shadows, now down to a core group of 6, were scattered across encrypted VPNs, each monitoring a piece of the plan: server traffic, Blackthorn's cybersecurity sweeps, and X's real-time sentiment. The air was thick with tension, the kind that comes when you're about to burn down an empire. Elias's plan was surgical. At the climax of Cass's keynote, when she'd unveil Spectre's new live-streaming feature, Phantom would hijack the feed. His pre-recorded video exposing Cass and Derek's betrayal, complete with leaked emails and a manifesto from the shadows, would play to millions. But Blackthorn Solutions was a problem. Their scans had narrowed in on the back door, and Elias knew they'd tried to patch it mid-event. Maya had fortified Phantom with a decoy layer, flooding Spectre servers with fake traffic to mask their intrusion. But it was a race against time. At 8 p.m., the live stream began. Cass took the stage in a sleek black dress, her smile radiating confidence. Spectre isn't just an app, she declared, her voice booming through the auditorium and across the globe. It's a revolution in how we connect, how we live. The crowd erupted, and X exploded with hashtags. Hashtag Spectre Live, hashtag Future is Now. Elias's stomach churned. She was selling his dream, wearing it like a stolen crown. At 8:15, Maya whispered through the call. Blackthorn's probing the API. They're close. We've got 10 minutes tops. Elias nodded, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Phantom was ready, but he needed to time the hijack perfectly too early, and Blackthorn could shut it down. Too late, and Cass would finish her speech unscathed. At 8:20, Cass clicked the remote, and Spectre's new live-streaming interface lit up the massive screen behind her. Let's connect the world right now, she said, launching a demo stream. That was the signal. Elias activated Phantom's hijack module. For a moment, nothing happened. The crowd cheered as the demo played, a curated feed of user videos, seamless and polished. Then the screen flickered. Elias's video appeared. His distorted voice cut through the auditorium. Cassandra Vega and Derek Holt stole Spectre from its creator. They betrayed trust, silenced truth, and profited from lies. The crowd gasped as leaked emails flashed across the screen, detailing Cass's plot to oust Elias and Derek's shady deals with offshore investors. The manifesto followed, a searing indictment of Silicon Valley's greed, signed by the Shadows. Chaos erupted. In the auditorium, attendees whispered furiously, phones out, recording the hijacked feed. On X, hashtag Spectre Scandal trended globally. Within minutes, screenshots of the emails spreading like wildfire. Cass froze on stage, her smile collapsing. Derek, in the VIP section, barked orders into a headset, but Blackthorn was too slow. Phantom had locked their admin dashboard, looping a message. The truth cannot be patched, but Elias wasn't done. Phantom's second payload activated, targeting Spectre's recommendation algorithm. Across the app, users saw their feeds shift. Instead of curated content, they got raw, unfiltered posts from the shadow stories of other founders betrayed by Vantage Point, data privacy violations, and Cass's lavish expenses charged to the company. The app's polished facade crumbled, exposing the rot beneath. By 8:30, the live stream was a disaster. Investors stormed out, their faith in Spectre shaken. Cass fled the stage, pursued by reporters shouting questions. Derek's team tried to shut down the servers, but Phantom had anticipated that, rerouting traffic through a mirror network Maya had set up. The broadcast continued, Elias's message playing on a loop to millions. In Elias's apartment, the Shadows celebrated, their encrypted chat buzzing. "We did it," Maya said, her voice trembling with adrenaline. "They're done." But Elias wasn't celebrating. Blackthorn had traced Phantom's origin to his IP range. He had minutes before they'd pinpoint his location. He grabbed a pre-packed bag laptop, burner phone, cash, and prepared to run before he left. He uploaded Phantom's source code to a public GitHub repository under Ghostbite's name, with a README. For every coder betrayed, every dream stolen. Use this to fight back. He didn't know if it would inspire others or just vanish into the digital void, but it was his final act of defiance. As he slipped out the back door, sirens wailed in the distance. Blackthorn had connections, private security, maybe even law enforcement. Elias vanished into Oakland's streets, a ghost once more. The aftermath was seismic. Spectre's valuation plummeted, the Series B round collapsed, and users abandoned. The app in droves, spooked by the privacy scandals Phantom exposed. Cass resigned as CEO, her reputation in tatters. Ex-posts dug up her old interviews, mocking her Queen of Connection moniker. Derek faced lawsuits from investors and a federal investigation into Vantage Point's financial dealings. The shadows. Leaks had cracked open Silicon Valley's underbelly, sparking debates about founder rights and corporate greed. Elias stayed underground, moving between safe houses with Maya's help. The shadows disbanded, their mission complete, but Phantom's code lived on. Hackers and activists picked it up, using it to probe other tech giants for vulnerabilities. On X, Ghostbike became a legend, a symbol of resistance against the machine. Some called Elias a hero, others a cybercriminal. He didn't care. He'd reclaimed his story, not with fame or fortune, but with truth. In a dimly lit cafe in Lisbon, Elias read an X post from an anonymous user. Spectre's new owners are open sourcing the app. Credit to the original coder, Elias Kane. He smiled faintly. It wasn't redemption, but it was enough. He closed his laptop, stepped into the sunlight, and disappeared into the crowd. Spectre never recovered its glory, but its open-source version found a niche among privacy advocates. The Shadows Manifesto inspired a wave of tech activism, with coders using Phantom's framework to expose corruption. Elias remained a ghost, his whereabouts unknown, but his code lived on. A reminder that in the digital age, revenge isn't just personal. It's a program that can rewrite the world.